hear that sound of the cardinals singing in the morning, there's when you see the smile of a person, so much like aloha, spirit speaks in so many ways, doesn't it?
Oh, well, you were singing to my heart, and I'm just, as you were saying that, I've got my Course in Miracles open, which opens this little choice today to the voice and hearing the voice. So how is that for guidance? There's like 1,100 pages, and it opens right to that. And here's Jesus saying, the Holy Spirit is the call to awaken and be glad. The world is very tired because it is the idea of weariness. The Holy Spirit, Jesus says, I have assured you that the mind that decided for me is also the mind that's in you. And it's the Holy Spirit that keeps reminding us. And Jesus says the only difference between you and me is I made a decision to hear that voice. He's saying, hey, I'm wired. I was created eternal like you, but I didn't have all that other stuff in me. He was born into an expectation of a culture where a Messiah was potentially possible. And, there's a story, Cindy, that for 800 years before Jesus actually incarnated, that when male Jewish children were born, the prevailing culture at the time was, is just the Messiah. And the reason I bring that up is that what the Holy Spirit and the Mother Mary is saying for each one of us, and I'm a grandmother, so to say to each child born, you are the beloved of God. You are the holy child. It's not something you have to do. And the Mother Mary is, I think, teaching with such love that all of God's children matter, that every child is sacred, and so naturally that informs how we, allocate water and food and how we cherish and care for each other. But the most important thing is in their awareness that there's 7 billion expressions, emanations of the most divine. And the Mother Mary is, I believe, guiding us and the Holy Spirit to each person, each soul, precisely where there's an opening for light. This is what I love so much about the mother's energy, is she never gives up on her kids, even when they do the worst goofy things. And I know some mothers who are listening who have some kids who are taking detours, I call it detours, on their path home to God, because here's the deal, everybody gets home to God. The Holy Spirit's job is to bring you back to what you left. We had to leave it. We had to decide we were separate. And then in separation, it looks like there's not enough stuff. But when we go back into the awareness of wholeness and oneness, we look on a universe of infinite supply. There's never a need to hoard or steal or need for greed, because we're constantly being provided the more than enough. And so, of course, we can create beautiful estates if that's what we choose, but never at the expense of anyone else. This is why the Holy Spirit and the Mother's teaching is so important at this time, to remind us there's more than enough, and it all begins with that choice to love and make that decision to hear only the Holy Spirit's voice. And, you may not call it the Holy Spirit's voice. You may call it the deep knowing within you, or the divine impulse. It's that divine impulse to choose higher. But it's always there if we're willing to be quiet. What blocks it is fear, and maybe we need to do an all-out program on all of our many fears, because they permeate most of our lives. We're afraid of disease. We're afraid of government. We're afraid of terrorists. We're afraid of, our neighbor. We're afraid of dogs and bees. I've got friends that are afraid of birds, So fear is something that we've made up, but it blocks us from hearing. So I'm thinking that fear may be something we're going to want to maybe add to your chapter.
I think fear and ego. I think that those are the two major blocks, is ego and fear, and ego uses fear. I believe that is what is a block, and if we listen to the fear, and if
anything that you make up, so the ego has an innate fear that it won't survive, and it won't. So see, that's a healthy fear. It's aware that it made itself up. We forget it. We believe the stories we made up. I'm sitting in my house with my little kitten sleeping, and I'm looking out at the ocean, and I've got all this stuff to sell on Craigslist. This is my life today. But the thing is, I've made it all up. And now I get to say, what do I want to do with it? Because it's all the Mother. And when you, Cindy, came to me 3 or 4 weeks ago and said you had been being visited by Mary, and of course, I started to ask, well, who's guiding me? I've certainly had such a graced and blessed life. Who's guiding me? And I want to share it. You have helped me every day. I get up and I say, beloved Mother, this is your day. My condo belongs to you. My life belongs to you, and I give everything back. Show me how to use it today in your glory and your purpose. So I'm going, as you know, to John of God in 4 weeks, and I had to get some passport pictures, and I was so thrilled because I went into Costco, and I got pictures, and I asked the girl, is it okay to smile? And she said, of course. So I smiled for my passport pictures. I'm walking out feeling just filled with joy because this is a step in the process to go to John of God. And I say that inner self, Mother, is this you creating all of this joy? And I've told you, Cindy, and I sent you the picture, so I have it on my iPhone. The minute I asked that question, my eyes were drawn to a used car, kind of sitting in the handicap parking, a lot of dents and dings on it. It was blue. And on the back, there was a bumper sticker, and it said, just do it. Well, Nike's ad. I looked at it closely, and above the just do it, big bold letters, was in black. Anything Jesus tells you to do, just do it. And underneath in the same black letters, Mother Mary, John 2, which is where the wedding feast, and Jesus said, I'm not ready to begin my work. And his mother said, anything my son tells you to do, just do it. Cindy, we get direct guidance from the mother. So here I am. I'm going back. I'm rereading every bit of scripture. I've been doing this for 30 years, the Course in Miracles. And, of course, it comes up exactly what you have outlined in your book without me even knowing what your book is. So when we trust that we're being guided, life just gets sweeter. And when we get into my judgments or my fear or, like the passport won't come in time, I just shifted into, well, then if it doesn't come in time, that means the mother has something so much better. And that's where I think when we're in that field and vibration of faith and love, that's how our life works. It flows. We're creative. We're generous. We're, in the game. And then we get stuck, and we think it should be different. And the minute I have a thought it should be different than it is, I just close down the full-on onslaught of spirit. Have you ever had that work? Oh, well, yeah, it should be different now.
You just brought up another beautiful key, which is going to be a chapter, which is faith. Because faith works in interesting ways, and we will be, through the teachings, we will be given the Spirit. We will be given everything we need. We'll be given the love. We'll be given gifts and blessings beyond our belief. But there will be times that we will be challenged, and that is when we go to our faith, and we go back into the stillness, and we go back to the mother, and we go back to the grace and ask for that clearance of any kind of fear or judgment or anything to come. And that's when Spirit comes to us. In fact, some of the times, this is true, when we go through, you've seen and you minister and counsel so many people, and there's so many trying things. People have lost many loved ones recently, or have recently had a beautiful woman who works here, her other coworker, her son took 85 sleeping pills just this week, and is comatose. And then they question, it's like, how do you pray? How do you pray for someone who's a mother who had already lost a son in an accident, and now her other son took 85 sleeping pills? All you can do is go back and ask for God and the presence of Mother Mary and some kind of blessing of grace to come to you and heal whatever is the hurt there. And that knowing that, of course, Mother Mary did indeed go through this very, very trying situation and many tests in her lifetime, many tests, and through this has become the Queen of Angels, that she is there and able to help.
Well, yeah, let's be real clear. God doesn't test us. We have opportunities to become Christed beings. One of the most beautiful stories that is told is the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva came as a mother holding her dead child to the Buddha. This is a true story.
Yes.
And she came to the Buddha with a full faith, knowing that the Buddha could heal her child. She knew that. And she asked the Buddha, and he said, yes, I will heal your child, but first I must invite you to visit every household in your village and bring to me a family that has not experienced deep loss and deep sorrow of someone or something they greatly love. And so the woman went out and went to every door and knocked on every door. And when she couldn't find anyone in her own village that hadn't suffered loss and death, she went to the next town, and she went to her entire province. And she went for weeks and weeks and knocked on every farm, every hut, every door. And finally, 6 months later, or some long period of time, returned to the Buddha with her heart totally shattered and said to the Buddha, there is no one. And in that she became enlightened and became the Bodhisattva, which is in a sense the Holy Spirit expression of Buddhism. This compassion, this deep awareness that in human form, when you don't know that child that passed over never died, the body died. The soul that we miss so much, that we love so much, is with us. It never went away. When they asked Maharaji, I think, where, and all his disciples were crying and moaning because he was about to make his transition, they said, don't leave us, don't leave us. And he looked at them with the wisdom that we're called to know, Cindy. It starts with hope, it goes to belief, and then it goes to faith, and then it goes to knowing. That we are to know that we live, move, and have our being in the infinite, that the body comes into form and the body dies. The spirit, the soul, goes on forever. And
Absolutely.
I too have had two friends, actually four, but two friends walked over this past week. Two of the four, two went with glory, with such peace, with such surrender, with no regrets, with no thought anything. I watched it, not one regret. I talked to one the day before she stepped over. I talked to the other before they put them on the morphine drip, which, was part of that. Their lives were rich and full. The other two went through with lots of mourning, lots of grief, lots of regrets, and of course, we did the prayer work to forgive it and bless it. But if ever there was a testimony for if you're sitting in health and wholeness today, start doing your work. Forgive it, bless it, do good everywhere you can. The two that stepped over were trailblazers in kindness, in generosity, in learning the deep truth, in spiritual practice. Not holier than thou in any way. They look like ordinary people. But what I really got, the gift was, boy, if you're doing your work now, cleaning up those family of origin issues, if you're taking time to go back into all those times when you didn't go as high as you could have, maybe you let yourself down, and do the Ho'oponopono, do the deep work, because we're all going to drop our bodies, Cindy. And you know what? There is joy for the morning, and MOURN. Morning. There is joy. That is the promise. You breathe it, you walk through it, you remember your wholeness. And one of the gifts of people who step over is, and I can guarantee it now, I used to think it was pretty far out, is the guides and teachers and the beloved family and friends that are yours are with you. And don't you know that? You guided me to that with your mother. Your mother, I have direct knowing of people. So talk a little bit about your mother. That inspired you, wasn't that the big? We're talking about inspiration.
Well,
today. It was,
and although we may complete this show on the Blog Talk thing, we can continue talking, and people will be able to hear it on my podcast because we can still keep talking, and people will hear it as I post it later on marysmessagesoflove.com. Or on
and
Facebook.
That's with an apostrophe. Remember,
yes.
Mary.
Well, no, on the
S.
website it's Mary's Message of Love without an apostrophe, and on Facebook, Mary's with an apostrophe Messages of Love on Facebook.
We got to think. Okay, we have to think a little. We've been in the light now. We have to put on our
love
thinking
to
cap.
everyone. So I just wanted to continue talking a little bit about this because this is when you see all these beautiful, the lovely Michelangelo picture of Mary holding Christ, and we're going to be coming up here to Easter, which is one of the greatest teachings. The body dies, and you can live forever. And